Hello friends, it's Steven here, and in this tutorial, I'll be walking you through the Pixlpal firmware, the platform on which the firmware is built and the layout of the firmware. We equally talk about the um, IDE or tools you would require to work on the Pixlpal firmware. We'll talk about the IDE installation, layout of the IDE, and by IDE, I'm referring to a combination of the ESP, the expressive ESP IDF, and Visual Studio Code. I will talk about the layout of the firmware, and what you may particularly be interested in is the layout of the app or the Pixlpal app, in the sense that you can build your own app which will run on the Pixlpal device depending on what you need to run. And as you may be aware, controlling or setting up an app on the Pixlpal requires a mobile app, though that is not absolutely necessary. However, if you wish to design your own UI, which will appear on the Pixlpal official mobile app, which is both on Android and the iOS app stores, from the firmware, you can design your own UI, which will be rendered on the mobile app. We'll touch on that, as well as how, if you wish, if you have a completed app which you believe or which you would want to share with the community, we equally touch on how to go about that. Now, I would like to mention those who may not be aware, the Pixlpal firmware is built using the C and C++ programming language. Part of the reason is because the expressive official IoT development framework, the IDE, is mainly built around C and C++, as well as the benefits that come with using that language. Now, a lot of developers are familiar with Python or the JavaScript programming language. So even if you may not be very familiar with C++, once you have those other two programming languages under your belt, either of them, you can be able to follow these tutorials, since we'll be touching on the API calls you need to make while building up or building your own Pixlpal application. Now, while explaining the app layout or the firmware layout, I would assume not everyone is familiar with C++. So I may be introducing briefly some C++ concepts, or some concepts which are peculiar to C or C++, such as function prototype declaration. We don't usually find that in other languages. I would equally like to mention one of the reasons why we use the expressive IDF or the ESP IDF is because of there are key benefits, which include it being the official development framework by Expressive. Equally, with the IDF, you have the opportunity or advantage of having access to a wide variety of libraries. You can equally build using the Arduino official library or user contributed libraries. So I'll go ahead and briefly show you some of the libraries you can use. One of it is the expressive component registry, which is a collection of official libraries, user contributed by Expressive and available to us. Expressive components. Yeah, you can go ahead and search that. You click on the very first option, and here you are. you have a series of libraries which you can pick from. These are user contributed. Some are developed by Expressive themselves. You can search whatever you wish. For instance, ESP matter. If you wish to build, okay, let me just search USB. You can see a variety of libraries you can import to extend your application. Another, you can equally use the Arduino official or Arduino libraries, and you have access to whichever library. Will show you how to integrate these libraries into while building your application. Now, the project or the Pixlpal firmware is hosted on GitHub. I will just quickly head on to GitHub to show you the project repo briefly. Okay, internet isn't very fast, so you can go ahead and search Pixlpal and Metabits. That's Pixlpal project by Metabits. You click that option. It should bring you to the project, and the README file contains useful information for developers. One information you might particularly be interested in is how to go about installing the ESP IDF. So we have a number of guides here. I would recommend the very first one, which is a write-up. It's quite detailed. However, for quick installation, you can go about how to install the ESP IDF on Microsoft Windows. Now, flashing the firmware to your Pixlpal device requires only a USB cable. You would need a USB type A to type A. However, if you don't have a type A to type A, we have a converter, a very simple converter, which you can use. I would expand my screen so you can see it easily. This is a type C to type A converter. So if you have a type A to C cable, you can go ahead and make use of that. I will equally add that if you have a MacBook like myself that doesn't have the USB type A ports, you can use a docking station to convert from type C to type A. Okay, it's over here. Type C or type A. I think I have another, whichever the case, converting type C to type A. You can then use to flash the you can flash your firmware after compilation to your Pixlpal device. Now, creating a UI for the mobile app is quite easy. All what you need is you write a JSON text while developing the firmware on the Expressive IDF, of course, on Visual Studio Code. You simply define the UI using JSON. When you are done, on connecting the mobile app to the Pixlpal device, the mobile UI will be rendered. We'll touch on that in this particular series of tutorials. Thank you for listening, and Stay relaxed as the tutorial progresses. All these will be revealed in details. I'll see you in the next one.